Let's go talk to Glen Suitor and press coverage. She's out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Perfect pizza, generous amount of toppings, no need to cook. Colson's telling me did I do something wrong on my throw to news, or what? What were you chuckling about there, sir?
Well, it had to be me, Barney. It was clearly me not explaining what I meant by transparency and salaries, and my concern with them, because my concern with them has really nothing. It really has nothing to do with, the low guy on the totem pole that is getting minimum wage and how he feels about that, or how he feels about that becoming public. That has nothing to do with it for me. It's because once you sign a pro contract, the team owns that contract. So they can if the rule is it's transparent, then it's transparent. There's nothing you can do about it, and who cares? The reason I brought it up as a concern is more to do with how we somehow value the quality of a player or the quality of an actor or sometimes the quality of a president based on how much money he has. And that has really nothing to do with it. I mean, I heard, Don, you talk about the creation of more discussion and debate. And I've always said it doesn't matter if a guy was really good in the negotiation room and created a great contract for himself. Let's say it's a D lineman that has created a top end, highest paid player in the league contract. And then he goes out in the first half of the season and doesn't register one sack. And we start saying, well, he's getting paid too much and the production isn't there. And the contract and how much he gets paid, to me, is completely separate. I mean, you get more as you play better. There's no question about that. But once you have that contract and they're paying you to play football, your performance now, I don't think, how many fans in the NFL love the NFL because there's millionaires they're watching? Probably a lot of them.
I think it impresses them, yes. I'd say.
So to me,
it's true.
To me, that doesn't impress me. If you sky for a football and intercept it in midair with one hand, that's impressive. That's cool. That's exciting. I really don't care how much you get paid, honestly. Like, this is Colson's all over it. Look at this.
Yeah, look at Colson. Brilliant Colson.
He should get a raise. He should get a raise. We're watching the on the stream the interception by Carter Jr.
And he's going to the NFL tryout as a result of that.
He should get paid more money for that game for doing that. It should be like senior hockey. You get paid per game, and then maybe by goal or all that, or it could just be like life in Canada. Yeah. The harder you work, the better you are. The more you go to school, the more tax you pay. So then those people should just have to give more money back to the CFL coffers somewhere somehow.
And we are all pulled right back into the middle or below the middle.
Let's be like Norway then, because they have lots of money. And speaking of presidents that have lots of money, also we could put prime ministers in there that are worth about $7 million USD from central banking jobs and different stuff like that. I just wanted to throw that out there. But my second question, I got to back up because I'm going to go way off base here, but that's what I do. That's okay. Have you ever seen a real life totem pole? Because you talked about totem poles. And low man on the totem pole. And I always think when people use that term, because you're in the Pacific Northwest, like, have you seen them out there, like the real ones?
Many times. And in fact, I know years ago, I probably shouldn't use that term anymore, but I know years ago that it was explained to me how they are, the importance of each figure on the
visual record of family lineage, crests, histories, myths, significant. Because they used to have one outside of Fluff and Stuff in Waskesiu, and as a kid, I always thought it was fascinating. And then the lady that owned that and got rid of it, she put it in front of her cabin up there, which I had no idea until my daughter started her dog walking business, and then she walked the dog for that lady, and I'm like, oh, That is the totem pole from when I was a kid. I can't believe it's right here. Anyway, way off sideways. Yeah. I think they're fascinating.
Yeah, so do I, and I didn't mean any disrespect by it. I certainly was looking at but you're right. We all have to be very conscious of how we describe things. But if the concern for me, back to the discussion is that there are a lot of people that like to kick our game. I don't get it. I'll never understand it, but that's fine. That's the way it is, and the stoic in me says I can't control what they say or do, so I'll just step by and be indifferent to it. But when they know that the minimum wage is $40,000, all of a sudden in their mind, the value of the sport and the value of the league drops to a point where they don't believe it's worth paying to go see. And that's my concern with transparency and salaries.
I get that. That part about, they make more millions in the NFL and whatnot. But I guess my point is I always, by being more transparent, I believe we'll eventually end up with more discussions and controversy and more chatter. That's sort of the way I see it. I don't, like what the league is doing right now. Well, they're talking about the league. That's step one. I've always countered with negative comments are really, really bad at times with at least they're talking about it sort of idea. You hear lots of, say, the scheduling that the NFL just did. In the last day for the games and the time off that some teams have and some teams don't have. It was really roundly criticized by some big media people in the NFL and whatnot. The teams won't say anything, but it was all negative as to what the NFL did with their scheduling this upcoming weekend. But guess what? Everybody was talking about it. And I just go back to these rule changes. Now I'm really rambling, Glenn and Barney, but I go back to these rule changes and I think, look, this commissioner was brought in because franchise values weren't going up. There were still too many empty seats in the stadiums. That's why he was brought in. And that doesn't mean that the CFL wasn't exciting last year. It was exciting for most, probably 80% of the games were good, which is a really high ratio, and the playoffs were good. It doesn't mean that this changes because the game wasn't exciting. I mean, one guy just said I was talking in circles, didn't he, Barney? Somebody just texted in. But what it means, though, is, okay, it's got to be better, even though it wasn't bad, if that makes any, and it was entertaining, if that makes any sense.
There's no question, Don, that you always have to kind of find new ways to keep fans engaged, especially today with phones and all the distractions and everything. So there's no question, and gambling and fantasy, all of that. And, and there maybe is an argument for transparency in salaries when it comes to fantasy. Maybe it's tied into how you build your team based on your, your hypothetical. So there is, positive reasons for that. And your thought on any news, as long as we're talking, is good news. I think that's when you're the NFL and that juggernaut, it's quite a different sort of, league to compare to any other league. No, forget it. Even the NHL, it's not close. This is $1 trillion league that don't really care about criticism or whatever, and they're going to do what they're going to do. Our fan-driven league, the fans' opinions are important, and the narratives are important. How many times have I criticized commissioners on this show or many others too, and sometimes on the air on TSN as well? I've given you my honest opinions many times when it comes to rule changes, things I liked and didn't like. I watched the NFL, watched a couple playoff games, the 49ers and your Patriots, Barney. I watched that game, and by the way, the Patriots defense won that game for them big time. They played great.
They did.
But when I look at there's things that I don't like about the NFL and things I think they do really well. The one thing that I think we can learn from them is when there's a penalty called, the refs make that decision and call it in seconds, in literally 10, 15 seconds. It doesn't disrupt the game when there's a penalty, even a big penalty like PI. The other thing I noticed in playoff games, the PI standard is completely different than in our league.
It is.
Almost every PI call I watched, I said that wasn't called, that they went back and looked and they said, well, it was close, whatever. All of those I would have said that's going to be a penalty flag in our game.
I agree. No doubt.
I hope in these winter meetings, Don, that they go and talk about that and their standard in pass interference, and let these guys compete down the field and not just throw it every time there's a little bit of contact. And Tavon Campbell would love this conversation too.
Yeah.
So my take isn't changing on when it comes to the rules, and you watch an NFL game, I think even if you watch an NHL game, we're in 2025. Let's use everything we have. And I get that the people that are like, leave it up to the refs on the field, leave it up. Why? You're not going to go to a rotary dial phone with a cord on it if you got one that's right here. Like, let's have 3 guys in a booth like the NFL does for every game. Heck, 2 guys. I'll do it for free for a year, to be honest. And then you make the call on the field, and then one of us is listening to Glen Suitor and everybody in the other ear watching the game. Then the other we could be watching a monitor on the other one to give our own look at it. And you're listening to really smart Glen, who watches a lot of football. You're watching it, and then whatever the ref said, within 15 seconds you can go and radio down and be like, hey, Jim, pick up that flag. No flag on the play. No flag on the play. First down. That's what the NFL does. It's not like these guys are geniuses. Well, NFL or NHL officials, when they make a call and they have the linesmen and they're going to huddle and they're looking at the screen, the 2 linesmen, and they have earpieces in as well. So you got that, and you have the guys radioing down. You think these guys are just magicians that they go, oh, no goal, or it hit off something and the puck went out of play? Like, do you honestly think the fast way that the NHL moves, that those guys make that call? No, we use what's in front of us to make the right call. So if you start going and you got some guy in a Chesterfield sitting there making the call and it's going to take him 8 minutes, no. It's got to be done quick. And in 2025, we have the capabilities, we have the technology. You put someone in there with half a brain, football, and I think you're also listening to the broadcasters, because you're not smarter than the room. If you got 5 people and they all say, well, that's not pass interference, or even if 4 guys, 4 of the 5 say not pass interference, then just go with that. Don't overthink it.
So, Glenn,
that was my rant. I'm not really a rant guy, but that was my rant.
That was a good rant. Do you think that this whole thing do you think the replay center discussion going on in Calgary right now, then, gentlemen, is it all about speed? Is that what it's about? Is it about the speed?
I think it can be about both.
Don, I hope it is. And right now, Barney, to your point, they do that now. They can in real time radio from Toronto and see it on replay, and in real time radio the head ref and say, pick up the flag. We've seen that happen, and it happens in the NFL. I saw it a couple of times on pass interference, for sure. There was a penalty flag on the field. They went back and quickly looked, and within seconds the on-field official said, no flag on the play, let's keep going, and the ball is placed and away they go. So I think that the problem is when you switch it to the replay center calling penalties. So you're on the field and nothing by the on-field officials, they see nothing wrong. There's a big play like a touchdown throw, and the replay center comes in and says, oh, wait a minute. Or let's say it's an interception for a touchdown, and the replay center comes in and says, wait a minute, the defensive lineman's hand brushed the helmet of the quarterback And that whole play, we're stopping it. I know there was no flag on the field. We're stopping it because we think from Toronto on a video replay, we think that's a penalty. I think you get into
understandable, but let's go with the same situation then. An interception down the field. Okay? Let's say said defensive back actually was out of bounds at the start of the play. Maybe it's a go route, a fade. Somehow that defensive back hit the sideline. He was out of bounds, came back into play, makes the interception, runs it back for 6. That play should be called by somebody. He's basically an illegal player. That play can't stand. The brushing of a head. I think everybody's adults. You could sit down with the guys and go, all right, let's not overthink this. Let's go with common sense. Where's the line that we're going to call this from above because it affects the game and it's blatant? A guy holding a guy, extra jostling down, there's the line there, right? I think if it's something egregious or the ball hits the ground, no one can see it on the field.
That, Barney, that is your line. That you just outlined the line in the sand is anything that is cut and dry and has either a yes or no, he was either inbounds or out of bounds, then the replay center should come in real time and say, guys, he stepped out of bounds. You got to bring the ball back. That because that is not subjective.
Yes.
A penalty is subjective.
Thank you.
And no matter how many times we sit in a room, there could be 10 of us. We will disagree on whether or not a penalty when he touched his head or grabbed his arm or a little bit of pushing or whatever it might have been. We're going to disagree, and the room is going to disagree, and often the replay center disagrees. So, within that room, and then there's one guy in charge, and he's got to make the call. So I think there is a line there with, just in or out of bounds, fumble or no fumble, complete or incomplete. All of those things are, right there.
I don't want to contradict myself too much, though, because to the same point, I do think that, and it just can happen so quick with technology and the number of eyeballs on something, that if an official, let's go back to the go route. It's a go route, and the guys are jostling, and that referee thinks he sees a blatant tug, even though they're both hand fighting. He sees a blatant tug, or he holds the guy's arm down. You know what? Throw the flag. So then Jim scampers over to head ref Tom, and they talk about it. He goes, I think I saw his hand pulled down, da-da-da. Within that 10 seconds, you could have somebody, and I think that's what you said they're doing right now, which I wasn't totally aware of how they're doing it. In that instance, no, pick the flag up. There was nothing there. Okay, I'm wrong. He's human. He's not going to be right all the time. It does happen, and you're right. It absolutely does happen. And we're talking about, as our example, pass interference, which is a point of foul penalty. So that means that can be a 90-yard penalty. That could be a 75-yard penalty. Those are game-changing differences. Are you okay with a penalty flag being thrown, have it picked up, or have a penalty called from the replay center for a holding at the line of scrimmage, or a guy that holds a receiver in his jam inside of 5 yards a little too long, or all of these things that happen every single play that, because they're subjective, some people look at it, depending on what color goggles you're wearing, you're looking at it going, that was definitely a penalty. Why didn't they call it? I think we get into a lot of muddied waters, and the replay center becoming so intrusive into games that it really affects game flow. And Johnson, he wants to make sure game flow is improved. That's part of these whole rule changes.
Oh,
is to
absolutely.
Improve game.
Yep.
So we have to.
So Ryan,
I think our goal, Barney, is simple. The goal should be in these meetings: how do we get less penalty flags? How do we stop the game less than we are right now? 14 penalties between the two teams is too many. How do we cut that down to 7 between both teams? Because you cut
That's
our
interesting,
game
yeah.
with 3 downs and passing to 7 penalties total in the whole game, man, it'll fly by and the excitement level goes through the roof.
Well, here's a question. Are there less flags in the NFL? I don't even know the answer than there are in a CFL game. I don't know the answer.
It depends.
Yeah, it depends. The game I watched, there certainly must have been close. Like there was lots of penalty flags in those games, and in that first one with the Eagles, lots of drop passes too. I noticed, but I think it's pretty close overall. I remember talking to the head of stats at the CFL who tracks all of this, and said it was within 1 or 2 penalties per game.
Okay. So it's how to deal with them more than. Yeah.
But Don, you don't notice it as much in the NFL, do you?
No, you don't. Absolutely not.
That's what I'm talking about.
I noticed a garbage football game last night for 90% of it. That's what I noticed. So I'm not going to get into the whole CFL NFL thing. I don't like playing that game. Great product down there. Games are exciting. Tons of money behind it. Is that a good thing or bad thing? Let's be honest. It makes the world go around. Some things it makes it bigger. The gambling aspect, you're not getting rid of that anytime soon. Embrace it. It's here. Or pickleball's your sport. The CFL is exciting. Unless I'm wrong, all the CFL playoff games this year were exciting. We saw one dud in all the NFL ones this weekend. Like last night was awful. Excitement. I am paying someone money out of my pocket or my card to be entertained, whether it's a concert or an athletic event, any kind of entertainment, a comedian. I want to be entertained, right? Now, the CFL, if you can sit here and just because if it's a lesser league, I don't want Canadians to now all of a sudden not be comfortable in their skin. It is what it is. It's bigger and powerful, and it's big down there. Our league's still awesome, and it is pound for pound as entertaining if it's the entertainment value that you want. Just like if you went to where's my sheets? Right here. I guarantee that if you would have went to Hafford versus Lemberg, that 6-a-side provincial final this year in football, you would have been just as entertained as any football game you'll watch all year. I don't care if Baby or whoever's doing the halftime show or whoever's doing entertainment-wise, good football is good football. Good hockey is good hockey.
Oh, that's right.
I just want to be entertained. Personally, just me, if I can gamble on it, I love it. Because I like to sprinkle. I think gambling makes everything a little more interesting. My kids are still taken care of. We're still eating tonight. I'm not losing, I just like a little bit here. Just like some people like a dart and a big gulp when they wake up in the morning. Yeah, it bogs down our healthcare system, whatever. Until that changes, go nuts. You do you. I like to sprinkle a little bit.
You know what I'm interested in? I think Stuart Johnson has brought up more topics for discussion than past commissioners. There's way more topics. Danny Machocha was saying he didn't like some of these things. Mace was saying, I've rethought a few things. So with all that's going on, Glen, in Calgary, with more topics being discussed in these rule changes, do you think people are getting along behind closed doors? Do you think it's possible that there's maybe more friction of opinion because there's so much more that they're talking about?
Passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be under that category of passion. And now that they've had time to sort of absorb what strategically might change with these rule changes for coaches, now they probably have a lot more questions that are more to the point, like, wait a minute, what does that mean when I'm between the 40-yard line and the 30-yard line or the 25-yard line now? What does that mean for my strategy?
Situational questions, for sure.
Yes. And because of, sort of some uncomfortable coaches saying, wait a minute, that's going to change much more drastically than I first thought. Now that's where these questions, and that's what these meetings are about. That's what really they are about. I think originally there was some tension when when football people weren't consulted prior to football decisions being made in the league. And I want to be specific on that because it's not, the commissioner can come in and put his stamp on it immediately and his ideas, and that's why they make this decision, right? But I think there was some concern early when coaches weren't consulted and they were football things that were happening, changes. Now, you were right, Don, when you talked about the media angle and that Stuart Johnson didn't want this to be debated before he was announcing it and how he would form the narrative and explain why he wanted to do these things and change and make these changes. And that's why I've said that, because they don't really hit the four pillars to me of the game and what makes it unique, then I'm interested to see how it unfolds. I really am. It doesn't mean I'm crazy about them all. I'm not crazy about the fact that we might not see missed field goal return for a touchdown ever again. I'm not crazy about that.
I think that's the one drawback, that particular point.
Yeah.
Look at JJ messaged in. Like there are people though that are passionate about that play and they love it and all that. I get it. I think it's a great play as well. For me personally, I weigh what they're doing and go, I'm willing to sacrifice that, for maybe better here. Maybe there's more third down gambles. If that happens with what they say and what the data shows, I'm married to a data freak. If it happens, okay. I do this for a living. I'm not there making those decisions. Change, we'll see. I don't know. We're up against the clock, though. Yeah. You might have to come on every time at this hour, and we just talk for an hour.
Well, I love it. We'll do it. I'm in. But this is and this is one thing I noticed in the NFL playoffs. There are some changes that I look at in the kicking game and things, and I go, ugh, just it's ugly. But I know the reasons that they did it, and I'm noticing in the NFL more fourth down gambles than I've noticed before. And it used to be fourth down gamble in plus territory was one thing, like when you were way deep. But now they're up there at their 40-yard line going in, that they're gambling on fourth down.
You know why?
And 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and they're going for it.
Because the data shows the percentages of make to not make is worth the risk. That's where analytics comes into play.
Yeah. So maybe these changes do that, and I'm glad. But let me quickly before we go, I'm glad that people are as passionate as they are, and that they are like Nathan Rourke, who is as passionate as he is and speaking up and saying, "Hey, I love our game. Don't mess with it too much because it's so exciting." And that's great. That's the heartbeat of our whole league. Those people. And good on you. And us that are in the business of it, we will be keeping notes. Believe me, I will be keeping notes. I will be looking at the changes. I will be analyzing them with all the numbers and the stats. And if it is not doing what they said it was doing, if it's creating a whole bunch more angled punts, then we'll talk about that too. Mm-hmm. To your point, Don, we'll talk about it.
Maybe they'll change. Yep. All right. We went long today.
We could go an hour. We're just touching the surface.
You're on curfew. You're supposed to be gone 6 minutes ago.
I wanted to see Glenn though.
You're gonna get in trouble. Hey, you and I get to do this again on Thursday, buddy, and we get to talk to Stu. Stu talks tomorrow, so we can dissect all that. Let's do that. Talk to you then.
Sounds good, guys. Appreciate it.
See you, Glenn.
Hey, congrats on your Patriots.
Well, it's one game. Yeah. One game, man. Hey, on to Houston.